Welcome, welcome, welcome to this week's Speak Your Truth podcast. Today, my guest is a homegrown North Carolina girl, Egan Griffith. Egan is the woman who keeps on reinventing herself, and she's not even finished yet. Of course, everybody knows I can really relate to that. She has gone from presidential campaign to brain tumor warrior, not to mention a makeup and skincare and fashion guru. She is proving herself to the world and to herself that she can do anything as long as she is her own best friend. And that is so important. So I can't wait to talk about all this journey because there's so much about you that I know, but there's so much about you that I don't know. Egan, welcome.
I'm so excited to be here and in my hometown of High Point. I love it. I'm back.
Exactly. I mean, if we were on local cable,
That would be fun.
be like
Oh,
Wayne's World,
they would shut us down.
public access.
That's so funny.
So, Egan, so everybody needs to know this, that Egan and I have been trying to get this podcast recorded for a couple, I'm going to say a couple of months. It might be longer, but some one of us would have something and then we'd be like, oh yeah, let's just do it then. And then it'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. And so I'm just really glad to see you tonight.
I'm
You
so
are
happy to be
very
here.
busy,
I know. Well, between the two of us, we really stay on the go.
We do. I mean, I always feel bad when I'm like, here's my couch. People will call me and they're like, can you do this? And I'm like, well, are you talking about this week? It's,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
I'm like, my week, next week is going to get filled up by Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So, we got to get moving.
That's
Egan,
so cool.
so I want you to just start from the beginning. I want to know about this presidential campaign. I would love for you to talk about your journey.
Sure. Okay. Well,
Well, I mean, you don't have to start the presidential campaign. You can start wherever you want. But I was just like, oh, what presidential campaign?
okay. So it's kind of a really cool, everything aligned kind of thing. And I literally I knew one person when I moved to Maryland. And I packed up my car, and my parents helped me pack up my car, and off I went to Silver Spring, Maryland. I was hired over the phone for a wallpaper and painting company as their office manager. I had zero experience in wallpaper or painting.
But I can
But
manage things, right?
I know. So, as only I can do, I met someone at a party who said to me, it doesn't seem like wallpaper and painting would be your future. And I said, well, I, have kind of always wanted to be in politics. I was very engaged with the Thomasville JCs. I was on their board. I did a lot with the mayor of Thomasville, a lot with the veterans, and I really loved that. And so they got me a meeting with a Maryland state senator who was looking for someone to come on his staff. I got the job, moved over to the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and that kind of started my journey. And I was really excited. I worked for him, and I was honored through word of mouth. The former governor of Virginia, James Gilmore, who was working for a law firm at the time, called me and asked me to come in and interview. And I thought, okay. And he wanted me to be his assistant. And so I went in for the interview, and he was lovely, and just a really good man. And he said, I need you to trust me, but I think that you and I are a good fit, and I really want you to take this job as my assistant here. And I said, okay. Well, little did I know that, 2 months later, we were going to be in a meeting and putting together his presidential campaign, and I would move out of that office and
Oh my
became his
God.
national director of federal election compliance, and human resources. So
Wow.
it
That's
was,
something I did not know about you. I mean, honestly, that's something that I had no idea about. And, I love politics. I had jury duty recently and, I love all of it. I love government. And,
yes.
um, at one point I thought about even, majoring in political science. And then I was like, what are you going to do? It's like, oh my God, I kind of overwhelmed myself with it and just kind
Hmm.
of said, okay, back off.
I was, I have always loved it, and I've loved the, you and I were raised so similarly, and you give back what you
Right,
give back everything that you've been given, and you and I were given by our parents the best of everything, and
right.
so you learn to, service and community, and that's everything. And so I'm really proud of my work with the JCs and the veterans, and so I was able to align myself with people who may have been aligned on one side of the ticket, but
Right.
um, they weren't necessarily that straight ticket. And I really like that about them.
Yeah.
So it was easy to support that and be a part of that and their gift of giving back and their gift of themselves. So I worked for really good men, and I was very, very happy with that. And they were very respectful of me as a woman and as a young woman, especially. And they were
Yeah,
very protective of that as well, because Washington can be a little daunting
I'm
from little old
sure.
High Point.
I'm sure.
It's a
I'm sure
lot.
it can be just a little bit, yeah, a little scary.
Yeah, it was. But it was exciting. I had a really great time, worked very hard, long hours, and I wouldn't trade it for a second. I loved every minute of it.
I think that's wonderful. So tell me how, okay, so Brain Tumor Warrior, I want to wrap that into everything you do and then kind of segue into what you're doing now.
Sure.
You're like me. You juggle, like you like have a regular job and then you have like three other jobs.
It's it's
So
true.
it is true. Multitasking at its finest. I mean,
It's true. So I was at a University of Maryland football game with my now husband. I think at the time he was my fiance. No, that's not true. We were married. Who knows? Um, he was stuck with me. And these poor men. Grace is not my middle name, as you. So I collapsed into these men in front of me. And I had had some balance issues and some headaches, and we weren't really sure what was going on. And there were some behavioral issues and changes that we couldn't put our finger on, and I couldn't figure out. And so we went to the neurologist. They ordered the MRI. They found an astrocytoma in my left frontal lobe, inoperable, grade 2, and that kind of just rocked our world. We attacked it with chemo. Those rounds were very difficult. It was a very long process. But I beat it. And I'm happy to say that they gave me 5 to 7 years, and I have surpassed that.
yeah,
So I'm very excited about that.
yeah,
And just battled it again last year or 2 years, maybe it's now 2 years ago.
yeah. That
The second tumor formed, and we
uh
did it again.
same
Um,
space,
Same space.
same space.
Yeah.
So I
Same
think,
space, but that second tumor's gone. We were able
yeah,
to dilute that. It's gone. The first one is just a hanger on her, but it's dormant
mhm,
and it's
yeah,
staying that way. So we're good with that.
yeah,
Um, but when
absolutely.
I was coming out of chemo, I went through a really dark place. I lost me in all of it and got caught up with it. And I had a lot of people using the words inspirational, and I did not feel that at all.
Right.
So I found Unique, and I watched this friend of mine, and I became friends with her on the internet.
Hmm.
And so I joined Unique in makeup and skincare, which I had never done before, but I'd always loved it. So I started to find me again and started to find this groove and develop this following, and was able to use my humor and just be completely raw with these women. And that is how Boss Diva Beauty came to be. And
Right.
so fast forward 7 years, 8 years, and here we are.
It's crazy. I mean, and I love that, I don't know if Unique or any of the other brands that you now represent
Yes, I'm
know
very honored to rep
know about
several
your
lines.
story of how much that was a part of pulling yourself out of that dark space,
It
right?
was such a huge part of it. When I started, I looked horrible for me. I had gained so much weight from the steroids.
Right.
And I was so swollen, and I had my hair grew back in this awful thick black color, and so I dyed it platinum blonde, and because I was so swollen, I looked like Guy Fieri instead of what I was going for.
Right. But at
I
least you
need
have
to
a
work
sense,
on that.
but at least you have a sense of humor about that because, and that's one thing that I love is that I can laugh about stuff that about myself. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
I laughed. I had to go. I went and gave blood the other
yes, you did.
day, and the poor guy. There were 3 or 4 nurses on this bus, right? The blood mobile, and one guy, and he was a big old guy. We're crammed in this little space, and he's taking all the notes and writing down everything, and he's like, "How much do you weigh?"
Oh god.
And I looked at him and I went, and he goes, and I was just staring at him, and I was like, he goes, "I'm sorry, I have to ask you that," and I was like, "No, I'm just trying to think the last time I got on the scale. Like, what was it the last time I got
Exactly.
on the
I'm trying to
scale?"
remember what I told the driver's license people, because that's my goal weight technically.
Right, and I was like, "Well, did I get on the scale this week?" Kind of in my head, and I just kinda laughed because I looked it up. I said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "It is right here in my phone,
But it's
on my app for Wake Forest," right? So, whatever. But I think the humor part, and you're so funny. I You guys, you have to, in the show notes, there will be a link to her stuff, but you have to go and follow her because she will come right on and put a big old headband on and put a whole face mask on. And then she'll take it off and she'll put her makeup on. And you'll be like, holy shit, what just happened?
it's so true. And exactly. And that's what my husband says in the morning when I go in the bathroom and then come out as this. He's like, holy shit, what just happened?
I mean, you go from washing your face to really doing everything. And I've not ever been a big makeup person, but I do like the skincare. I don't
Yes.
wear a lot of
Oh, if you
makeup.
don't have good skincare, forget about it.
Well, that's what my
That's the
mom used to
base.
always say, and
Mhm.
she would say that about everything because, she's like, "If you do anything, wash your face. That's it."
Yep.
She would say, "Because I never did." She was
Yes,
like,
of
"You have
course.
to wash your face."
Yes.
And,
Yep.
you
Exactly.
know, so I at least try to put mascara on every day, which will force me to wash my face, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah. And you're so pretty.
So, tell me what else you got going on now?
Okay, so let's see. So I started Boss Diva Beauty, which was amazing, and I have an amazing network of people. I've been very lucky on the internet. Knock on everything. Um, it's a, it's just a loving. It's a way to inspire, and I like that because if you say inspire, it kind of leaves it in their lap to kind of take what you're putting out there and let them do with it what they want to make it work for them. Um, I married my husband in 2012. He is a smidge older. And so, in an attempt to let him kind of back down a little bit from taking care of me all those years, I reinvented myself yet again and I went to work for Liberty Mutual.
I love it. But
Department.
your Limu Emu's coworker.
Exactly. Yes. So I am now slinging claims and slinging makeup, and I'm loving life. So yeah.
I think that's wonderful. I just love it. You just keep growing. I think when you told me you were like, gonna find something,
Mhm.
extra, and I was like, when are you gonna do that? And then as soon as I thought that, I was like, oh God, but that's what people think about me. It's like
You are
people are always
constantly
like,
on the
because
go.
I will have friends go, well, what are you doing now? And I'm like, I'm still doing all the same things. You mean what else am I doing
Exactly.
besides what
We
I was
just
doing
add
before?
to it, girl. We just add to it.
Yeah, I just keep piling it on, and this is why, it was funny, Wednesday, I was supposed to go meet with somebody, and I woke up and I didn't sleep well. I woke up at 4 and couldn't go back to sleep, and that was the day that I was like, "Oh god, why do I feel like I have to put time if there's a space of time on my calendar?" I'm like, "Sure, I have time for you in that 45-minute slot."
It's so true. And you know what I've learned though? For people or women like us who
Mhm.
really do keep ourselves filled, We're also married. We also have an amazing friend group. So we have all of these facets to our life. And I don't know about you, but I found a point where I just became paralyzed in my own space, and I just couldn't go live anymore. I would get up and go on the phones and go back to bed. And I was just in this space that didn't feel like me. And I kind of am coming out of that now. And
Mhm.
if we don't take 45 minutes a week, if even that just for us, like you
Yep.
found yoga and it's beautiful to watch that happen for you.
Thank you.
Um, and which I so want to talk to you about later because I want to convince her to start a yoga online class.
Well, I will be honest with you, when you said that to me, and just so you're aware, of that,
Yes.
that when you said that to me the other day, I was like, I haven't really thought about that, but I'm like, I think that you're right on. I think that's something that I wanna do, and I wanna do it to where, I can do a in a private space, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So because my biggest thing is that, and this is nothing personal against anyone that does yoga, no matter what, but, walking into a yoga studio can be daunting if you're not a size 6, 8.
Yes.
The studio, High Point Yoga School, has always been, where I, studied yoga,
Mhm.
has always been uh, super open. It's men, women of all sizes. It's never been anything like that. But I think that a lot of times people are intimidated by that. And, you tell them to go try yoga, and that's not what they really want. They would like to do it in the privacy of their own home
Mhm.
or with a small group.
Agreed.
Um, I have taken online classes. One of the girls on my team at work teaches in Winston, and she has done an online class, and I took it, and I loved it because you're not sitting there watching on Zoom, watching everybody else. She's showing you how to do it, and,
You're
you know,
doing it.
you're doing it. It's just like in any other yoga
I
class.
think that's fantastic.
Um, I've gotten a hair on my nose and it's
Oh
driving me
no.
crazy. I should have turned off the ceiling fan. It's blowing all my little baby hairs onto my nose. Um, So that will be definitely a conversation that we will come back to, because when you
Good.
said that to me on Facebook or Instagram or wherever we were, that I was like, I think Egan's right. I was like, that's a really good idea. And so it did not leave my brain. And, you know,
I love
so
that.
I appreciate that. And I think
Absolutely. I'll be
that's
the
that
first one in your class, friend.
as entrepreneurs and as women, that's what we need to do. We need to be supporting each other and standing up
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
showing up for each other. I always try to catch you live, but now I'm like, I don't remember what her work schedule is, so I don't know when she's going. I'm
Same
just like
here.
lucky to happen across you.
It's true, and it's so true,
Yeah,
and you always do show up, and that's the beauty of you and understanding that we as women, there's room at the table for all of us and all
absolutely.
aspects of us. And so you want that diversity and you want that different success story because you never know what you're going to learn from that woman.
Right. You don't ever know, who you're going to meet. And I have, over the last, since the pandemic started, I think so many women went to the internet. We were on Facebook. We were finding groups of women that wanted to learn the same things we did. I mean, that's when I got my yoga certification. There were all of these things that were happening during that time. And now I've made all these friends. And, when you talk about having a fantastic friend group, I have a one here in my hometown, but
Hmm.
now I have a global friend group
See, that's
of
amazing.
women
Mhm.
everywhere from being in these groups online, and, where we
It's
all
so
just
true.
we wanted to learn something about ourselves and better ourselves.
There are
It's just
women I cannot feel more prayed for, supported, loved than these women who I've never sat in the same room with. And
right.
they're incredible, and having that connection with them just through me being live or messaging back and forth, and it's just amazing.
Well, I just love it. Egan, I'm so glad that you joined me today. It's been great. And, I have to laugh. I think that we could sit here and talk forever. And
We
I
should
would
call
love,
it part one.
well, what I was getting ready to say was, I would like to have you back again.
I would love it.
So we can talk more. And, because I think that where we're headed right on this conversation about women's empowerment would be a great part 2.
Oh, I think that would be fantastic. I'm
You
in.
know, we won't call it part 2. It will just be a totally different, podcast, but I think we should do it.
I think I'm in. I love it.
Awesome. Well, Egan, thanks so much for being here with me today. Everybody, check the show notes. You're going to want to go follow her on all the platforms. You're going to want to get some makeup from her and some skincare and be her friend. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm ready.
We will see you next time, everybody, on the Speak Your Truth podcast.